We're having an auction in a couple of weeks' time on April the 18th here in Sydney, and what we're auctioning is a wonderful collection of Norman Lindsay material as collected by James Kemsley. Now James was a great guy. He was the cartoonist that drew Ginger Megs, and he did the Ginger Megs illustrations for 25 years. So, and he collected, the whole time he was collecting Norman Lindsay material. And James was a passionate man, lovely man, great smile, and he used to collect Norman Lindsay. He used to go to bed of a night dreaming about Norman Lindsay. He loved anything to do with Norman Lindsay. So he put together this fantastic collection, unimaginable, it's so good. He's got all the ephemeral pieces, all the major great books. He's got absolutely everything. So we're lucky enough to be able to auction what we have here now, Magic Pudding. Norman Lindsay is famous for his Magic Pudding. It's his iconic work, although he did lots of other fabulous things. The Magic Pudding. Now, before the Magic Pudding was published, the publisher put out a brochure, a ephemeral one piece of paper folded, and here it is. You've got the Magic Pudding. That's the design of the dust wrapper there, basically, and then you've got, here he is here. And of course it says specimen, and the rear cover an illustration from the book, and this is a prospectus for the Magic Pudding. It says ready early in September, so this was put out in 1918. Now not only is it the prospectus there, it's signed by Norman Lindsay and inscribed by him too. This is just fantastic. This piece of paper has no right to still exist now. It's 1918, and here it is, a beautiful copy of it. Bit worn and creased, there's a crease in it, but it's fantastic. Now, that's a prospectus, shouldn't exist. Here's two copies of the first edition of the Magic Pudding. The Magic Pudding, the very first issue, what's considered the very first and most desirable issue, is the one with the patent end papers, the patent Angus and Robertson end papers. So here we have the first edition with the end papers in dust wrapper, in pretty damn good condition too. Look, there's no foxing, there's no dirty marks, no nasty sticky tape. It's beautiful. And here we have the second issue of the first edition. It's got the white end papers. It too has dust wrapper, and it's also in beautiful condition. So we've got both issues of the first edition there, along with the specimen, along with the prospectus. But not only that, James tried to collect every edition of the Magic Pudding, and he succeeded. Here's the Spanish edition, and the Korean edition, the Japanese edition, the Catalanian edition, the German edition, the German paperback edition, and so it goes on. So it's a fabulous collection of the Magic Pudding in this part of this. One of the very most scarce Norman Lindsay books around. It's the first edition of the Curate, A Curate in Bohemia. Now, what made this so scarce is that the very early issues, we don't know how many copies of this were printed, but maybe 50 or 100 copies, maybe a few more, we don't know. Here we have the woman with her breast uncovered. So we've got the curate walking into the room, perving on the uncovered breast. Now this was noticed by the printer, or someone noticed it and immediately was taken away. So this book here is legendary scarcity. I do know of a couple of other copies in existence, but none of them like this. This is just a perfect copy. This is unread. Just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful copy. And along with it we have the second printing of it, the first edition of the second issue of the first printing, with her breast covered. So just a beautiful, beautiful thing to have, and James had it made in this. He had this beautiful, beautiful box made to keep it in because he treasured it. It's one of the really legendary, scarce books in Australian literature. That with the woman with the breast uncovered. Here we have perhaps the most valuable book in the collection, money-wise. James had this box made for it. Beautiful box, custom-made box for it to fit in. I take it out of the box. We believe that this binding was done by Norman Lindsay. It's got his initials here, and that's a typical Norman Lindsay initial. That's how he did it. and across there we've got the Rabelais, and that looks like he's done that himself. There's no reason why he wouldn't have bound it. I mean, he did everything else. He did sculpture and painting and drawing, absolutely everything else. So we believe that this was bound by Norman Lindsay. Now, it's a copy of the Rabelais published in the 1870s, this edition. And the Rabelais, of course, is a great bawdy novel of bygone days. And it appealed to Norman. And he had this copy that he took apart, or maybe it was falling apart when he got it, and he illustrated it. And here you have the first page. It's not really the frontispiece, but we'll call it a frontispiece for the sake of this. And that's a Norman Lindsay original drawing in there. So he drew that there, and then throughout the book he did, I think it's 21 illustrations, and he put a caption under lots of them. So you go through the book and there's 21 full-page Norman Lindsay pen and ink drawings, and they're just beautiful. And they're not signed, but they are Norman Lindsay, and there's 21 of them in there. Look at that, there's a beautiful one. I'll see if I can find my favourite one if I flick through it. You can see, this is the one I like best. I smile every time I look at this one. And so in this book you've got 21 or 22 original Norman Lindsay pen and ink drawings, and a book bound personally by Norman Lindsay, signed by Norman. It's fantastic. Nothing like this exists anywhere else. So this is a very, very unique Norman catalogue. A battered book, very battered, bruised, well used. It's Norman Lindsay's own copy of his Thesaurus. Now, how do we know it's his own copy? Because inscribed there on the end paper, you can see, is all of this is in Norman Lindsay's hand except the inscription from Bert Stevens. And it says, to Norman Lindsay, knowing that you won't need this, Bert Stevens, 1917. Now, I've got to put my glasses on to read the rest of this, but we'll just quickly run through the inscriptions on it. Every time Norman used it, or maybe not every time, sometimes when he used it, he put an inscription on it. So he replied to Bert, he said, wrong Bert, look at the state of this book after 18 years use. So 18 years after Bert gave it to him, he's using it. 1941, he says, still using it Bert. 1944, he says, got to look it up still Bert, even if I ought to know it by heart at this date. And then 1952, when he's in his 80s, he says, here I respectfully resign Roger to the limbo of past experiences in the metre of prose. A bedeviled process which at least I got a lot of use from, a lot of fun out of. And then in 1968, when Norman, this is the year before he died, when he's in his 90s, he says, here Bert, I make my final resignation of this excellent book. I can hope shortly to thank the excellent Roger in the Elysian fields. So it's a bit of Norman's philosophy in there too, all inscribed by Norman, and it's a book that he handled, used, loved, kept it by his side for 50 or 60 years. What a great Norman Lindsay item to own. We have within the collection lots and lots of ephemera, tons and tons of it, amazing stuff. Here is a small sample of it. Here's a collection of Norman Lindsay greeting cards. These are just in amazing condition, and the greeting cards done in the 1930s I think, and unused and in mint condition. Whole bundle of these, and they're all got different Norman Lindsay illustrations. They're taken from his, some of them are oils, some of them are watercolours, and they're just absolutely beautiful. The fact that these survived in such great condition is amazing. And James had a box made to put them all in. There it is. You'll never see these again. And then Norman was very prolific in his art. What he did a lot of book plates for friends and family. So here we have a collection of every book plate that we know Norman did. So they're for his friends, family, Colin Berkelman, Lane, Wingroves, and here's one that is fabulous. It's a book plate done on tissue paper. Very scarce, and I've never seen a book plate done on paper like this before. So these are just fabulous. So every Norman Lindsay book plate known. I'll just pop them back. And then other ephemera, we've got here a little going away card. It's a menu for a friend who is off on a sea voyage somewhere. So here it is, the horseshoe being thrown, the little sailing ship. That's all a Norman Lindsay thing, and then on the back there's the autographs of the people who were at the dinner. Now, in my hand here there's a whole heap of Norman Lindsay postcards. These were put out by the Bulletin, and there we have the Norman Lindsay bits on the back. They're mostly on the front, they're done by Hop, and on the back it's Norman Lindsay. And there's one of the postcards is used, but all the rest are unused postcards, and it's, once again, we believe it's every Norman Lindsay postcard that he did. And there's another one that's, this is not part of the Bulletin series, but that's another postcard he did. Other ephemera, there's every catalogue that Norman, all his art exhibition catalogues. Here we have a 1909 exhibition catalogue. It's only the one piece of paper, but it's a 1909 catalogue. Norman was like 30 years old, and then we have this lovely Fanfrolico pamphlets #1, and it's just one sheet of paper folded, and it's been preserved behind plastic, and it's called Norman Lindsay Does Not Care, an outburst by P.R. Stevenson. And it's Norman Lindsay didn't care about what society was saying about him, is what they're saying, and it's a little short essay by Stevenson sticking up for Norman. Just fabulous ephemera. You'll never, the ephemera in this collection is irreplaceable, and lots of the pieces of ephemera, this is the only place that they exist. You'll never see ephemera like this ever again. Norman Lindsay's famous for his etchings, and he did a number of books with original etchings in them. We have in the collection every book that he had an original etching in it. I've just pulled out two now to show you. This one here is Creative Effort, and there's only one etching in this, but it's a beautiful etching, and it's a beautiful, wonderful copy of the book. Creative Effort. It was done in an edition of about 100, and that's the original etching you're looking at now. I really love that etching. It's very powerful. So that's Creative Effort in a beautiful copy, and James had a box made to fit it in to preserve it. And here is another one, a different size book. I'll put the slipcase down there. This is Idyllia, and the book is by Hugh McRae, and it's got a half dozen, I think it's got 5 etchings, I just forget the exact number. It's a limited edition, limited to 133 copies, 100 of which are for sale to the public. This is number 59, and it's signed by Hugh McRae. And here we are. The etchings, What the Deer Said. The poetry is by Hugh McRae. Original etching by Norman Lindsay. And Robin Hood. Here we are. What a powerful image that was. And of course for the time that was a very daring etching. Norman lived in times of great prudery, and society disapproved of a lot of these etchings he did. So here it is, Idyllia. Just absolutely beautiful. Look at that for a powerful image, and that etching really does it for me. I'd love to have that hanging on my wall in a frame, but it won't happen, of course. So here we are. So there's the half a dozen books that 5 books that Norman Lindsay had original etchings in, or is it 7, I forget. But they're all in the collection, and it's all in great condition. So there they are, there's 2 of them. Here we have a book, The Pen Drawings of Norman Lindsay. Well, what this is the special super duper deluxe edition. This is one of 35 copies only, and comes in a special box like that. And have a look at this, how beautiful and clean this is. Here's Norman's initials up there. Beautiful decoration by Norman. That's the binding, and it's just so pristine and clean. And here it is, The Pen Drawings of Norman Lindsay. It's a special number of Art in Australia, published in 1918, and it's done in an edition of 35 copies, of which 25 are for sale. And this is number 24, and there it is signed. That's Norman Lindsay's signature. He signed them, and the book is so beautiful. The condition is stunning. It's how you want every Norman Lindsay book. So there it is. Come along and have a look at it in a week or 2. Thank you.